Hi, everybody. Let's see if everything is working. It looks like it. It looks like it. Let me check to make sure. See if the sound is on. The sound is on. Perfect. Okay. All right. So, hi, everybody. This is 1,749 days since Richard was forcibly removed and his life taken from him because he was reporting on the cartel-tied military um, criminal trafficking on Fort Bliss and at the southern border, the doorway into the United States, um, the southern border in El Paso. Um, the Siamese sisters, right? El Paso, Texas, and Juarez, New Mexico. Um, it's really important to understand the dynamics there and why having a military base is really asking for a lot of trouble. A lot of trouble. I think Fort Bliss needs to be shut down because I just think it's too much of a temptation for criminal trafficking activity. um, because we give everything to our military. We want them to have everything. I mean, right now they have a $1 trillion budget. I said that a couple years ago because it was almost at a trillion, and and people were like, "Oh, but it's not a trillion." And I'm like, "Yeah, but with all the bennies, it was a trillion. It was a trillion." Um, I see the fraud, waste, and abuse my whole life. I've been involved with the military, and so it is. We have a little problem because we want to give everything to our military. We want a very strong military. You heard President Trump in Qatar and the UAE, in Saudi Arabia, but especially in Qatar because he addressed our service members there, and he, laid out what his envision for our military. And of course, publicly, he has to say that we're a very strong military, that we have the state of art equipment, and which is true, which is absolutely true. But because lived on Fort Meade, I understand NSA. I lived there in D.C. For years. Um, um, so I understand that we are state of the art, that we are a strong military, but I also know um, that we were um, being attacked from within like a Trojan horse, and I've been saying that for a long time, because you had a compromised leadership that allowed the criminal trafficking to be brought onto our bases and into our barracks. And I was told over and over again when I complained about it, it's been going on for years. Like that's an excuse. Like that's an excuse not to do anything, to not address it, that it's just forever and it just is going to go on for years. And we can have our service members die from the inside, from being infiltrated, from being our enemies embedded into our military and not do anything about it, and have them um, absolutely being targeted to be compromised with these substances with these very young girls, and then videotape them so you can blackmail them, compromise them in any way, get them very in debt, or and then waive the criminal trafficking of ammunition and equipment and all of that, sell it on eBay or whatever they were, put it in the tactical move storage units, use our military fuel, our military vehicles, our military equipment to conduct the trafficking. Even our planes, even our helicopters. You saw in specials, they were even using body bags to traffic substances and equipment and all of that stuff like that. So the corruption is real. There's no doubt about it. It's very documented. You do not need me to tell you that there is criminal trafficking in our military. And that, it got very lucrative. And now we have generals, we have four-star generals that are absolutely compromised, that are absolutely committing treason because they're traitors. They're absolutely traitors. And I can tell you that General Kelly, General Garrett, Michael Garrett, Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe, General McConville, General Mealy, and we can go down the list. Lieutenant General Donna Martin. They're traitors. They're absolutely traitors, and they could not withstand their own greed. They could not withstand the temptation of the monies, the very big monies, and the power and the stars, because this includes people in our Congress, because the Senate Arms Committee are the ones that give the stars. And who got stars? Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe, with absolutely the most horrendous record at Fort Bliss, a horrendous record, and they gave him a third star. And the horrendous record of Donna Martin, with all of these deaths in the CID and the IG. When you're looking at what is supposed to be, they have a horrendous record. But if you're looking at it from a cartel point of view, when you're looking at it from a cartel point of view that's tied to strings coming up, tied to the CCP, um, tied to LLC business people that want contracts, right? That is their temptation. Their temptation are the big military industrial complex contracts, right? And so you have all of these different elements. You have the enemies that want to control our military and want to get our intelligence and want to get our technology, like the CCP. They're known for stealing our technology. And you have several people in Richard's case that speak Chinese that are up to no good, that are part of the criminal trafficking, that are part of the cartels. And we know that the cartels have strings to the CCP. That's why President Trump went to Panama, because they use, they even had all the Chinese language on their signs, because it was the hub for the CCP criminal trafficking. So that's not me. That's all reported. You just have to piece all the puzzle pieces together, make yourself a map, and you'll see where they traffic, and who are the business people, who are the brains behind the money laundering. Because if you have all the criminal trafficking, you need the money laundering to turn the money illegal, right? To turn the money quote unquote legal. And they do that through property, they do that through LLCs, they do that through contracts, right? They do that through contracts. And you see that with Nadal Baim, the Palestinian arms dealer, right? That's connected to Bradford Bugado, who's connected to the Mendenhalls. So you have absolutely, and it's all tied with the contracts. And here he is wanting to keep it a secret that they found our son's remains, that he wanted to keep it a secret that Richard was dead, and that he had that inside knowledge because of his inside connections with the FBI. Just just like with the Mayellas. Michael F. Mayella, that is the manager of the federal courthouse, um, with access to federal cases. That's a huge intelligence, y'all. And that means because he's a family member to Patrick Crusius, that Patrick Crusius then absolutely had the opportunity to have access to that kind of intelligence. And it goes even deeper than that because Michael G. Mayella Jr., the junior, he was in the DA's office with Jaime Esparza and James 2028 Montoya. So Jaime, I've got a conflict of interest. Esparza, a huge conflict of interest, and Montoya, who is not even legally a DA, but is impersonating one because he did not install properly. He didn't sign the anti-bribe statement, and then he tried to cook or tamper with the documents with the 2028 stamp, right? With the 2028 stamp, which we put up. So, you have Michael G. Mayella working in the DA's office. That is huge, huge investigative access to intelligence, to all kinds of cases, to the law enforcement community. And, him being the brother in law of Patrick Crusius, absolutely, that would give Patrick Crusius access to that kind of intelligence. And if that's not enough, you have Michael G. Mayella also being in the FBI, the one investigating the very case Patrick Crusius was accused of being the shooter of. And that absolutely, Patrick Crusius could, uh, you know, absolutely have access through his Jaime Esparza connections, with Joe Spencer connections, with David Guadarrama. They all know each other, the Mayellas. What about Steven Spitzer? The prosecutor, the federal prosecutor, having this very close Sunday connection with the Mayellas. And if that's not enough, Patrick Crusius had access to the Walmart cybersecurity through Michael G. Mayella because he was employed by Walmart cybersecurity, right? And here he is, a trained cybersecurity technician and a trained hacker. And so he absolutely would be able to give Patrick Crusius all kinds of intelligence from the Walmart cameras and everything. And he would also be able to pull an 86 in any of those places. The Mayellas would be able to pull a 86. And we're going to talk about that. But I don't want to forget to mention that Lorraine Mayella and even other family members are in the healthcare business, and especially in the mental health care. Um, uh, you know, eh, so you have access when you are giving services to victims of a mass shooting crime. You have access to the witnesses, and you're talking to the witnesses, and they trust you, and you're giving them mental health um, care, and you can hear whatever the witnesses are saying, and that would give access to Patrick Crusius, to so the Mayella family absolutely was very, very important and central to the cover up and to the mutiny in this case, in the Walmart mass shooting mutiny case. That's what I call it, the mutiny case, the Walmart mass shooting mutiny case. And it was a bloody case. It was absolutely bloody, but it absolutely is involved in the military. Absolutely, the military is involved in this. The cartel's involved in this. There's absolutely other shooters. They're at large. They're at large walking around. And Patsy is absolutely a patsy. Was he there? He's one of the shooters, right? Because he admits he's one of the shooters. He was absolutely there. Um, so I'm not, trying to defend him. I'm trying to get justice here and point out that there's other shooters. And because you had two chances for a trial, and the federal and the state. And we had the checkbook, right? We had the state case come out and say not even $6 million they've spent. That's a lot of money. Oh, that is a lot of money. But they just want to make it la di da. I mean, no way. That money goes to Patrick Crusius's defense. I mean, who wants to give Patrick Crusius a defense? Let him defend himself, right? Let him defend himself. And if he can't afford a lawyer, he's the one that got into the crime scene. And unless he's so mentally impaired. And we need to know that. We need to know that. So okay, let's have the money for the mental health evaluation and hearing by an independent judge. Absolutely, I'll pay for that to make sure. But look, this $6 million, and I will tell you, I think that is a fudge. I think that is a huge fudge, because when you go back to all of the articles and you start adding up the monies, I get almost $10 million, and I think that, and I'm being very, very um, conservative with my figuring of these amounts. And I don't think and that doesn't even include the federal case. So I think that would be a more honest, but I don't think they're being honest. Of course, the 6 million is just way below what has been reported. So, they're just trying to pull the wool over everyone's eyes again. That, with all their seals and deals and gag orders and their plea deals, keeping this case from trial, keeping us from looking at the forensics, at the ballistics, keeping us looking at and hearing from the victims under oath, and the witnesses under oath. Uh, you know, they kept all that information from us, and it really is a travesty, and it really is criminal. It's absolutely criminal, all the while with their money signs in their eyes, right? The open checkbook, and that approval for taxpayer funds to go to this, millions and millions of taxpayer funds for Patrick Crusius's defense, right, and prosecution, but for his defense, um, most of it, and for these victims' mental health care, right? Um, it's very, it's very interesting because we have the audio of Joe Open Checkbook Spencer saying that when that he would only come on to this case. He didn't want a nickel and dime it. I'm doing this by memory, so this is not a direct quote. But if he comes on this case, he didn't want nickels and dimes. He wanted an open checkbook. He wanted money. He had money signs in his eyes, okay? He wasn't thinking about the victims of the shooting. No, he wasn't thinking about the victims that witnessed it, right? Um, no, he was really interested in the money. And what he said is he said that to Judge Samadrano and Judge Guadarrama. Well, when you map out this case, you see at the very beginning, it was Judge Burrell. Judge Burrell was the initial judge assigned to the Walmart mass shooting case. And she recused herself later, right? So, why wasn't it I told Burrell and Guadarrama? No, he said he told Madrano and Guadarrama. Um, and, the approval was fast tracked. The approval for the taxpayer funded defense team was fast tracked. And it was approved on, get this, Sunday morning, August 4th at 5:42 a.m. a.m. on a Sunday morning, when everyone, most people are sleeping, especially after a very, very tiresome and hectic day, like Lionel Gutierrez said, right? This off duty police, he said we were just all exhausted. Well, somebody wasn't exhausted because they heard Joe Spencer say, I want an open checkbook. And so they fast tracked without even vetting the finances of Patrick Crucius because they put on the form 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 um zero money, zero expenditures. He just had 0 0 0 0 0. So he had zero money and zero expenditures. And at 5:42 a.m., less than 24 hours, really, how many hours? Think about 11 o'clock, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 is 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. So what? You got less than 24 hours, 18 hours. Let's make it 19 hours since the shooting, right? Since the shooting. So less than 24 hours for the shooting, and they already have fast tracked in 18, 19 hours the open checkbook for Joe Spencer. And then that Monday he was already visiting Patrick Crucius. So why did he say, I told Judge Guadarrama and Judge Madrano that I wasn't going to do this for nickels and dimes? I wanted an open checkbook. When did he have time to do all of that? Right? When was there time? And when was Sam Madrano informed that he would take over the case? When was Judge Guadarrama informed that they would hand over the jurisdiction to the federal case, to do the federal case early, to do the federal case first? When was this all planned? Because to me, something stinks to high heaven in this whole money thing, okay? And this is what has really been something very rotten. There's rot there. There is absolutely rot in that audio that the timeline doesn't match unless this was pre-planned. Pre-planned. And, when that Patrick Crucius is very close family to Michael Mayella, with Judge Guadarrama, with Steven Spitzer, with Joe Spencer, with Jaime Esparza, that his son is with Jaime Esparza and James Montoya, and in the Walmart cybersecurity, and over there with Nieto, with Eddie Nieto in the FBI. I mean, wow, look, is it absurd for me to say that this judicial mutiny could happen? Is it absurd? No way, because the evidence is really pointing to that. The evidence is drawing it out. Call it an auto pen, and you you put it in there, call it an AI auto pen. You put in the evidence, and all of a sudden it's drawing this picture, and the picture is saying that this was premeditated, that this was pre-planned, that this was pre-planned by the judicial branch, the judicial system in El Paso. And, would that be absurd that they would be rotten, that there would be rot there? Well, you had um, Comey come out, right? So not only do I think that this is all um, premeditated, that they did this for the money, that there's way more than $6 million that they extorted. I think it's extortion, but that they, maybe not, maybe it's not legally extortion, that they legalize this money, right? This is like for money laundering, because absolutely, what are they protecting? What are they protecting there that they have to cover up this Walmart mass shooting? I'm telling you, because Richard's case is intertwined with it. It's the cartel military criminal trafficking. Okay, that's worth billions. So here they are, covering up, but also, getting a bonus, making loads of millions of dollars on the cover up. And you see that Comey, the ex FBI director, um, putting up an Instagram picture of 8647. Wow. Wow. Can you believe it? Can you believe that he is just such scum? And this was our FBI director at one point. Thank God he left in 2017. And it's just, does he know General Kelly? Does he know General Kelly? Is he friends with General Kelly? Um, but to put out that kind of threat after President Trump already has been through two um, um, assassination attempts, and I think it's more because I remember um, other things happening in his, but we have two official assassination attempts, and those assassination attempts, they're interesting. They're very interesting. Um, and so, you cannot be a former FBI director and think that this is a joke. Think that it's okay to put out in shells on a beach 8647, and say, oh, isn't this interesting? And have this vile Trump derangement syndrome on top of it to give people a clear message of what what you're dreaming about, what you're hoping for, what you know, and this is really, really dangerous, super dangerous, and he needs to be held accountable for this, right? Because in Richard's case, they took it all the way. They absolutely did an 86 on Judge Roger Rodriguez's report. They erased it. They erased it from the CID file. We have that confirmed by CID agent from the Quantico um, homicide and cold case unit, Todd Howell, right? Todd Howell, who happens to have a huge conflict of interest. Okay, just to let you know, he has a huge conflict of interest, but he did confirm to us that an 86 was pulled on Judge Roger Rodriguez's whistleblowing um, report identifying the prime suspects in Richard Halliday's murder case. And this is not just anybody, right? This is a judge. This is the only MAGA judge on the border. This is the coordinator for terrorism and homeland security at Fort Bliss, former coordinator for terrorism and homeland security at Fort Bliss. Um, you know, so, and, he called us up in January of 2022 to let us know that he submitted his report to multiple agencies. And you know what? If he wouldn't have called us, we wouldn't have known because they pulled an 86. They absolutely erased his report from Richard's file. And so this is not funny because this identifies the um, the prime suspects in Richard's murder case, a federal murder case, a whistleblower, a U.S. Army soldier whistleblower federal murder case on Fort Bliss on a military base. So this is very, really, really serious, and we need to get to it. And, for Comey to be doing what he's doing, um, it's just reckless. It is so reckless and so criminal. So we have been getting a lot of responses back from the Luis Reyes Diaz, and we've had that information for a while, and we have, like I said, we notified Bill Hicks, the usurper, of this, and what did he do? He pulled an 86. He pulled an 86, right? Um, for Richard's case and other cases. Uh, to cover up the association that he has with Luis Rene Diaz, with the cartel. And now it's going to be even more problematic because the cartel are now designated as the Big T organization. And so now he's going to have a bigger issue uh, as this all unfolds and comes out. So, and then you have, of course, Governor Abbott is the one that appointed the usurper, Bill Hicks. Um, and Governor Abbott is under huge scrutiny. It's very interesting because here we have come to that. We have come to let everyone know how criminal Greg Abbott has been in this. And it all comes together like the Holy Spirit is bringing everyone together at the same time to point their fingers at Greg Abbott. Um, it's just a miracle. It really is a miracle. So, but we want everyone to know that he's up to no good. Um, and he absolutely played a part in this cartel military operation. And 86 in Richard's case, he absolutely knows. So, you know, um, we'll see. We're absolutely going on any kind of post and letting them know. And of course, submitting all of our letters. We've submitted um, uh, just under 300 emails in the last, I think, 2.5 days. Um, so it's huge. It's really big. So Abbott is compromised. He's absolutely compromised. There's no doubt in my mind. And of course, Veronica Escobar is. And of course, Mario Raskin Ortiz needs to be out of this country. He's illegal. His visa is, yeah, and he's not qualified for the medical examiner. And yeah, so it's all coming out. Um, and just you can really take some time to absorb everything. I hope that you uh, please, because this goes into the El Paso Independent School District, where Manuel Chavira is the chief of the El Paso School District's police department or police, yeah, department. And yeah, so there's some real problems here because he is absolutely tied to the cartel. He's absolutely tied to Arturo Alba. He's absolutely tied to Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia and others that are part of the Moya, right? Willie Moya. So this is really and he's supposed to be protecting our children, and we have a child trafficking issue, a huge one, hundreds of thousands of them that now are mostly dead. We don't know where they're at because they say they're unaccompanied, and I'm like, nope, nope. I'm not buying that. Hundreds of thousands of children coming over on a company. No, no, I'm not buying that. No squiggly eyes for me. Those are taken children. Those are taken children. Those are absolutely forced. Those are absolutely in duress. Those are absolutely no way. No way. I'm sorry. I don't buy that. And now they're missing, right? Now they're missing. Now they're reported to be mostly dead, and we have someone that is up to no good, in charge of protecting our children. No, no, connected to Luis Rene Diaz with this criminal record, arrested and indicted. Arturo Alba, with Arturo Alba, who was cartel styled, lost his life, and brutal lost his life, and also Willie Moya in cartel style lost his life, and we have um, uh, this connection. Um, watching our children. No, he has to get a different job. He has to get a different job. It's no, no. Sorry. Um, and he didn't even have his peacekeeper's license, or whatever. Um, yeah. So this is major, major information always coming out every day from us. Um, and Abbott, let's just say, we had this discussion on a chat. Who's better, Beto or Abbott? And I'm like, um, uh, I think their strings are tied to the same puppet master. Okay, their strings are tied to the same puppet master. I don't think any one of them are worthy to be trusted and to have any kind of position. And so now we have that squared away. Um, we have submitted um, our findings on that, filed it. That's why I can say it. So we have Veronica Escobar, absolutely up to no good. And, now you understand why Texas is in the situation it is, because it has a stinky leadership. It has stinky leadership in the governor's office. And the governor's office of Texas, let me tell you, I'm from Texas, right? I was born in New Mexico, but I was born at White Sands Missile Range. It's like, uh, eh, you know, do you count that? I mean, that's the fine hair, right? A fine hair. I mean, I was born on the range. Um, and but I went to school and everything in El Paso, and then in Temple, Texas, and my alma maters, Mary Hardin Baylor. I absolutely understand the power of Texas. The economy of Texas is humongous. I lived in Ireland. I don't know, like 4 or 5 Irelands can fit in Texas. I understand the economy, the huge economy of Texas, that it could be its own country easily, easily, that it was its own country. And so to be the governor of the great state of Texas is a huge responsibility. And Governor Abbott's compromised. He's compromised. He's just like the generals. He is a traitor. He has committed treason. He has not secured Texas, the great state of Texas, and defended the beautiful, magnificent Texas Constitution. Okay? The beautiful Texas Constitution. He has not done that. He has been working with the enemy, and for personal gain, So, and I'm not the one saying this. I am just repeating what is in the news, what is in the evidence, what the evidence absolutely declares. And so I think he's in big trouble. He's in big trouble. And it really does make us understand how how all of this has developed, and like our, because we've sent out, I don't know how many letters. I mean, just this last couple days, just under 300. So, and we have over 20,000 hours of invested investigative work, that, and I'm sure it's more, um, because I'm not even counting other people that have helped us. Um, so it's so much work. It's so many hours. And I saw that in the article for the money, it was 22,000 hours, 22,000 hours of investigative work. Are you kidding me? Do you believe that? I don't believe that. I don't believe that. Nope. Nope. This was a slam dunk case. When you have access to intel, it's a slam dunk case. But when you have the Mayellas and you have an open checkbook, there is absolutely incentive to delay, 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 to milk the system of millions and millions of dollars. Delay, 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 so I can get tomorrow's milk, and I can get day after's tomorrow milk, and I can get, or call it a goose that lays a golden egg every day. Every day that goose lays a golden egg, so I've got to delay, delay, delay to get as many of those golden eggs as possible. This was Joe Spencer. This was Sam Madrano. This was Jaime Esparza, allowed to stay on the case for almost 2 years, delaying it for 2 years, with this huge conflict of interest. So, absolutely, there has been so much fraud, and people are saying they need to pay it back. Well, they need to pay it back, and then they need to pay restitution on top of it. No, not just to pay it back, but pay restitution on top of it. That needs to be really that. I've never really been such for jails, right? I'm more for restitution, right? Make it, when your pocketbook hurts, you really hurt. When you have to go and work, um, and you have to pay debt, it's very painful. It's very painful. So they absolutely should pay back what they stole uh, plus absolutely restitution. So, but that's just my opinion. I'm not in the judicial system. They have to be brought before court. A judge or a jury has to figure it all out. I'm as far as the last minute talking about what I think. That's just me, and my personal feelings. And I'm being very, very nice, very nice, because my son was murdered in this, right? His life was taken. His life was taken. And he's not the only one. And that's why I try not to, um, because I know other people have really suffered through this. So, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for sharing this information, because, you're not going to hear it on um, in the media. Right? You're not going to hear it. They're going to twist and turn it. But this 8647 is very serious, and it also corroborates that they did a lot of 86s in Richard's case, a lot of 86s. Thank you so much. God bless you, and I will be back tomorrow, God willing.